Welcome to Raging Bunny's Dark Souls analysis. In this video, I'll basically just go over a couple things that I've come up with from the story, some interesting points about the story in larger respects than just the minute details. I'll be talking about, in general, the meaning of the story, the overall, what did the creator Miyazaki, what do you want you to feel when you were playing this story? What is the point of all these covenants? What is the point of the gods? What is the point of all the stories? And what are the endings about? So basically, in this video, I'm going to lay out what it's all about. It's kind of a big task, a big brushstroke, but it's pretty clear to me, and I have my opinion formulated. So I'm just going to go ahead and start laying down my facts, and think of it what you will, and feel free to comment. So basically, Dark Souls, the one thing you're always going to associate with Dark Souls is death. Prepare to die. That's the tagline of the damn game, and I'm sure every player knows that it is. You're going to die a lot, but it's more than the act of dying. The story I'm referring to. It's not just about getting killed a lot and the game being difficult. Obviously, that lends itself to the overall story, but that's not what it's all about. The act of death is important, but the overall concept of death, I think, is what they're really trying to get at. And if you flip that, obviously you get, what is the meaning of life? Now that's just like, okay, where is this guy going with this? That's just ridiculous. You can say any piece of art is going to have some kind of commentary on the meaning of life, but Dark Souls, believe it or not, is very, very specific in asking this question, and it lays out two alternate ideas and paths that you can take, depending on what you think the meaning of life is. You might be scratching your head at this point saying, all right, I think you're just reading way too far into it. It could be, but I'm of the school where I don't think an artist puts anything in a game or a book or movie, any medium, and has no use for it and isn't trying to lead you somewhere. So, that being said, we have two interpretations of the story, which are clearly visualized by the two endings. The one, where you link the fire, is basically an ending of faith and religion, duty, sacrifice, and self-immolation. Literally, quite literally. And I like the term self-immolation. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. It's coined by Ayn Rand, who obviously is the philosophical founder of objectivism, and has many great classic books like Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, and one of my favorite authors. But this point is it's actually like Miyazaki wanted to take the concept of self-immolation and make it friggin' as literal as it can get. Because when you link that bonfire in the end, you literally burn yourself alive as a sacrifice. And, well, this is something that Ayn Rand will preach against, and I'm not going to go into her whole philosophy, even though I do recommend you check it out. I do recommend reading Atlas Shrugged and all her other works, because they are phenomenal. And they actually give you some insight onto this topic. But, basically, that is what the followers of Gwyn, not being gods themselves, the undead, that's what, if you follow that path, that's what you're going for. It's a story of religion. In a parallel with our world, it is being a religious person, believing in God, and believing that you have a duty, and following through with it. So you say, okay, what is the second ending? And obviously it's the Dark Lord ending. This is, pretty much forsaking the bonfires. Defeating Gwyn at the end and walking away, saying we don't need it anymore, the Age of Fire is over. We've finally beaten Gwyn, we've snuffed out the flame. Once and for all, that small flame that was there is gone, and now it is the Age of Man. So what does this Age of Man entail? Basically, it's atheism. We're basically living for the self, for survival, and to basically impose your will on the world around you. That's not atheism in a nutshell, but and I'm not saying all atheists are bad, and it's not really a commentary on atheism in itself, but this is the second idea of a Dark Lord, the age of humanity, the age where there are no gods, there is no worship, and duty is to oneself, or something other than God's, or the conception of God's. So we'll go into the first ending, the Link to Fire ending first, and we'll talk a little bit about that ending. So basically, like we said, the first ending, Link to Fire, is all about the gods. And to further expand on that, you can look at the covenants that are associated with the gods. And I'm going to make some parallels to the real world. It's kind of, the game itself is crawling with real world parallels, especially a lot of mythology, Gwyn and Zeus. It's pretty much, it's just out there in the open, and it's easy to see. Artorias, Sir Artorias, his name was actually the same name of the historical King Arthur. I'm not sure if there's really many more connections past that, but that's there. Guinevere, obviously, in the tale of King Arthur, his queen and the lover of Sir Lancelot. So it's all there, really. It's there's plenty of allusions, and if they're just literary, or if they're deeper than that, it kind of, I think it depends, but they're definitely there. And the inspiration for this world in Dark Souls is apparent from culture and history. So basically, we have 4 covenants, I would say, that are expressly related with the gods. And the first one we'll talk about is the Way of Light, which is associated with Thariland. Now, to simply put it, I'm going to just go out there and say this is your basic Christianity. This is your basic Christian covenant. It is a theocracy. It's not Christianity in the sense that the idea and the details of Christianity are the same. But what I'm saying is, overall, it's a type of foil, and it's a type of, the way things are done in this covenant highly resembles the way things are carried out in Christianity. Ideas of duty, sacrifice, and putting basically your religion before yourself. It's clearly indicated by Rhea and Vince, Nico, and Petrus, who we'll touch on later. But so there you go. There you have that. The Way of Light, I'm going to say, is just all out and out Christianity. It's a foil for Christianity, maybe even Judaism, maybe even Islam. Depends. It's really just a structured religious system of people, and they follow the gods. But next, we have the Dark Moonblades, which seem, they're very, very religious, and they follow the commands of Gwendolyn throughout the game, and they hunt down the traitors and the evil. And this, if you know anything about the religion or the history of the Catholic Church, you'll know that there's been assassins. There have been plenty of people that have been hunted down on the command of the Catholic Church. Now, I'm not going to go into specific details, and you can, call me out on that, but that's just too long, and, that's too much to go on here, and I'm not trying to get into the history of the Catholic Church, but, research it yourself. I could probably throw a couple links in the description, but, it's pretty commonly known that, that things of the Dark Moonblade nature, assassinations of evil people, have happened in real life under the Roman Catholic system. Moving on, we'll talk about the Warriors of Sunlight, who, for me, it's kind of a very simple comparison, and it's actually Knights Solaire that gives this away. Basically, they're the Knights Templar. If you've ever seen any kind of art of the Knights, or any kind of art portraying them, they look highly like what you see from Knights Solaire. And this is just very interesting. It's a semi-religious covenant. It's often stated it's like neutral, but the Warriors of Sunlight, they serve the God of Sunlight and the God of Fire, so it's safe to say that they serve the religion, and in real life, or in the real world parallel, they would be serving God. And then finally, we have the Princess Guard, who I actually made the parallel to the Swiss Guard. It's pretty simple. We guard the Holy City. The Princess Guard in the game guards Guinevere in Anor Londo, and the Swiss Guard in real life guards the Pope in Vatican City. How much more of a clear comparison can I get there? That's just out there in the open. So But so those are basically your 4 covenants associated with the Link to Fire ending, and they're obviously all can be made like parallels to real life religious institutions, and I think it's very interesting. I think it's very important for the storyline, because obviously when you go into these games and you go into any story, a good author and a good artist knows that people are going into it with knowledge of the outside world. This is a fantasy setting, of course, but that being said, it still has to, the artist still has to take into account that people know things from the real world and are going to apply that to the game